express my gratitude to Hope Warschaw for supporting this endeavor and our larger mission of making the Academy, the university, a more powerful presence in the public square. So now we'll move to our first panel, which asks a simple question: what happened to the blue wave?
Donald Trump is such a game changer in terms of people's involvement, in terms of getting people up and out of their apathy that we've been seeing for so long. It's quite possible that if we have an engaged, set of millennials and young voters out there, and this continues, and people are actually more engaged than they have been, then we could actually see a real change.
I think if there's a lesson from Tuesday or from this midterm election for Democrats, it's that we need to rethink what it is to be electable, who we think is electable, and who we think can win races.
I think it's really important for us to know what's going on in the political spectrum. We constantly hear these names thrown around in news, and I think it's just really critical for us to get to know how these people could potentially impact our lives, either being in public service or some form of advocacy.
We are in the middle of this reckoning when it comes to gender and politics. And I think it's a little bit related to what was talked about on the prior panel. Realignment and gender and politics can go either in lockstep or they can go two very different routes. And we want to talk about where they overlap and where they don't overlap in terms of the reckoning in this cultural moment that we're facing.
But the thing I've noticed about the way women work, way more collaborative, way more collegial, way less, I did it. No, we did it.
I never recognized the fact that there was so much work done before me, and so I think it's really neat to be able to see Barbara Boxer and be able to see all the work she did to make my future possible.
I think we do see a story that hasn't been told before in American politics. Minority candidates made history. More women were elected than ever before. We saw the first 2 Muslim women voted into Congress and the first openly gay governor elected in Colorado. To me, this looks like progress. Whether you identify on the right or the left, I think this is something else that we can agree on. Governing well is about figuring out how to approach complex issues in ways that serve not only your interest or the party's interest, but for the common good. Obviously, we're not going to fix the political divide overnight, but we can demonstrate how to get civil, productive dialogue started. And it's happening in this room today.
Some of the old kind of divisions seem to be popping up again between whether we win by rallying our base and overwhelming the opposition, or whether we need to have a more moderate candidate like Bill Clinton was.
What we need to do as a party is we need to speak to people who need help. And we need to convince them that the programs that we offer in terms of wages, jobs, healthcare in particular, and other core breadbasket economic issues, they will benefit from.
The candidates who can sort of go viral, that quality is independent of, it's not driven by their ideological commitments or really even by their identity positions. It will really be these sort of, what kind of campaigner are they? Do they capture the zeitgeist and sort of get their finger on the pulse in the right way and use social media well?
After the election, I think that you can read as many results and things as possible, but actually getting the chance to come and ask professionals your questions and find out anything that I've been wondering about, it's really a valuable opportunity.
We live in a country largely where the politicians pick their voters as opposed to the voters picking their politicians. And thus, when you look at historic models, they're misleading in that they look at a period of time where there were many more structurally competitive races at a time when the parties were not regionally homogenous as well.
My hypothesis is that both parties are deeply broken. I think that means the country's pissed off about what we have in Washington, D.C. They're pissed off when we have Democrats. They're pissed off when we have Republicans. And that the politics of opposition and division are driving that. And the party that can break that cycle first will be a majority party in this country for a long time.